The old circus grounds of Willowbrook had always been shrouded in mystery. Once a lively attraction that drew crowds from miles around, it had closed its doors decades ago after a tragic fire claimed the lives of several performers and spectators. The ruins stood as a decaying monument to that fateful night, its tents tattered and its once vibrant signs faded to shadows of their former glory. Locals avoided the grounds, claiming it was cursed. Rumors swirled about ghostly laughter echoing through the night, shadows moving where no one should be, and the faint sound of carnival music drifting on the wind. No one dared to venture there after dark, except for me. It wasn't bravery that drove me to the circus grounds. It was desperation. I was a struggling journalist, and my editor had tasked me with uncovering the truth behind the circus's haunted reputation. The assignment was supposed to be my big break, a chance to prove myself. But as I stood at the rusted gates of the abandoned circus, a chill ran down my spine. The moon hung low in the sky, its pale light casting eerie shadows across the grounds. The air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and decay. I took a deep breath and stepped inside. The first thing that struck me was the silence. It was so complete, so oppressive, that it felt as though the world itself was holding its breath. The tall grass rustled beneath my boots as I made my way toward the main tent, its striped fabric torn and fluttering in the faint breeze. I pushed aside the flaps and stepped inside. The interior was a hollow shell of what it once had been. Broken chairs littered the ground, their once bright colors dulled by time. The center ring was overgrown with weeds, and the remnants of the fire were still visible, blackened beams and ashy-coated debris. As I wandered through the tent, I felt a strange sensation, as though I was being watched. I turned quickly, but there was nothing there. Just the empty tent, silent and still. I shook off the feeling and began snapping pictures, my camera's flash briefly illuminating the dark space. As the light faded, I thought I saw movement out of the corner of my eye, a flicker of shadow darting behind a beam. My heart raced as I aimed the camera in that direction and took another photo. The flash revealed nothing but empty space. Get a grip, I muttered to myself, trying to ignore the growing unease that gnawed at me. I decided to explore the rest of the grounds. The old carousel was still standing, though its horses were weathered and chipped, their painted eyes staring blankly ahead. As I approached, a sudden gust of wind set the carousel in motion. The creaking of the rusted mechanism sent shivers down my spine, and the faint echo of carnival music seemed to drift on the air. I froze, my blood turning to ice. The music was faint, almost imperceptible, but it was there. I scanned the area, my flashlight cutting through the darkness, but I saw no one. Just the wind and the dilapidated structures of the circus. "Hello?" I called out, my voice trembling. There was no response, but the music grew louder, more distinct. It was coming from the main tent. Summoning my courage, I made my way back to the tent. The music grew louder with each step, a haunting melody that seemed to wrap itself around me. When I stepped inside, I saw a figure standing in the center ring. It was a clown. Its costume was tattered and stained, its makeup smeared across its pale face. Its eyes glinted in the dim light, and its wide grin revealed yellowed teeth. It stood perfectly still, staring at me with an intensity that made my skin crawl. "Who are you?" I demanded, my voice cracking. The clown tilted its head, its grin widening. "Welcome back," it said, its voice a low, raspy whisper. "Back," I repeated, my heart pounding. "I've never been here before." The clown chuckled, a hollow, echoing sound that sent a wave of terror through me. "Oh, but you have," it said. "Don't you remember?" Before I could respond, the clown began to move. It walked toward me with slow, deliberate steps, its grin never faltering. I stumbled backward, my flashlight shaking in my trembling hand. "What do you want?" I cried. "You," the clown said simply. I turned and ran, bolting out of the tent and across the grounds. The carnival music was deafening now, echoing all around me. Shadows danced at the edges of my vision, and I could hear the sound of laughter, high-pitched and maniacal, following me. I reached the Ferris wheel, its rusted frame looming over me like a skeleton. I ducked behind one of the support beams, trying to catch my breath. My mind raced as I tried to make sense of what was happening. Was it real? Or was my imagination playing tricks on me? A sudden noise made me jump. It was the sound of footsteps, slow and deliberate, crunching on the gravel. I held my breath, peering around the beam. The clown was there, its face illuminated by the pale moonlight. But it wasn't alone. Behind it stood a procession of figures, acrobats, fire breathers, and trapeze artists, all dressed in the tattered remnants of their costumes. Their faces were pale and lifeless, their eyes hollow. They moved in perfect unison, following the clown as it led them toward the Ferris wheel. I pressed myself against the beam, trying to stay out of sight. My heart pounded in my chest as the procession passed by, their footsteps echoing in the night. I didn't dare move until the sound faded into the distance. When I finally emerged from my hiding spot, the circus was silent once more. The music, the laughter, the footsteps, it was all gone. But I knew better than to think it was over. Something was wrong with this place, something I couldn't explain. I decided to leave, abandoning my assignment. Whatever secrets the circus held, they weren't worth my sanity or my life. But as I made my way to the exit, I realized something chilling. The gates were gone. I spun around, searching for any sign of the path I had taken to enter, but the ground stretched endlessly in every direction. The tents, the carousel, the Ferris wheel, they were all there, but the way out had vanished. Panic set in as I ran through the circus, calling out for help. The shadows seemed to close in around me, and the air grew thick with an unnatural fog. I could feel the presence of the clown and its ghostly performers, always just out of sight, always watching. And then I heard the music again. It was coming from the main tent. Against my better judgment, I followed the sound. The tent loomed before me, its flaps fluttering in the wind. I stepped inside, my flashlight casting long, eerie shadows across the walls. In the center ring stood the clown, surrounded by the performers. Their lifeless eyes turned toward me as the clown held out its hand. "Join us," it said, its voice a hypnotic whisper. I shook my head, backing away. "No, I'm not one of you." The clown's grin widened. "Oh, but you are. Don't you remember the fire? Don't you remember what you did?" Confusion and terror flooded my mind. "What are you talking about?" The performers began to chant, their voices rising in unison. The memories came flooding back. Memories of the fire, of the screams, of the faces of the performers as they burned. And then, the truth hit me. I had been here before. I had been the one who lit the fire. The clown's laughter echoed through the tent as the performers closed in around me. "Welcome home," it said. And then everything went black. When I woke up, I was standing in the center ring, dressed in a tattered costume. The performers were gone and the circus was silent once more. But I knew the truth. I was one of them now.